Late at night after the Sydney Olympics that shook the world, young Ian Thorpe returned to the poolside alone. He sat by the water that had once made him boil and suffocated him, watching the moonlight glint across the rippling surface. Just hours earlier, he had been Australia's hero, heavy gold medals hanging from his chest, the roar of thousands ringing in his ears. But in that moment, he felt an immense, unprecedented emptiness, as if he were a flying fish trapped inside a glass tank. Tonight, let us wander into his real life, accompanied by the soft crackle of a fireplace, and this story that needs no effort to remember. It is not a simple tale of fame, but a journey of a soul fighting the undercurrent of depression in deep blue silence, eventually swimming toward the light. We thought he belonged to the water, yet what he sought beneath the surface was a breath undisturbed by the world. Listen. The gentle lapping of water against the pool wall, that is Ian Thorpe's truest, loneliest rhythm. Ian Thorpe's childhood began with an ironic secret. The future god of swimming was originally severely allergic to chlorine in pool water. Every time he jumped in, his skin broke out in red rashes, a physical rejection that foreshadowed his tangled, strained relationship with the sport later in life. Yet he possessed enormous feet, almost naturally made for water. Like a pair of built-in flippers. He swam with a nose clip. Enduring the discomfort, he made a startling discovery. Beneath the surface lay the quietest place on earth. There, no one judged him. No noisy expectations lingered, only his heartbeat, and the sound of water passing his ears. He became a world champion at 15, the Fishman, in a black full-body swimsuit, cutting through waves like a dolphin. The whole world talked about his foot size, his lung capacity, yet no one cared about the confusion flashing through his mind as he held his breath underwater. He was shaped into a perfect Australian icon, forced to smile brightly for the cameras, while his broad shoulders trembled slightly under the spotlight. In an era where prodigies were mythologized, he had no right to sadness, no right to stop. And so, at every turn in training, he secretly melted his tears into the bright blue chlorinated water. Success at the Sydney Olympics pushed Ian Thorpe to an irreversible peak, yet also stripped him entirely of his space as a human being. Walking the streets of Sydney, he saw giant posters of himself everywhere, a suffocating sense of being overconsumed. Worse than holding his breath underwater for 3 minutes. It was then that a gray fog named depression quietly spread through his colorful life. He grew tired of victory. Even when touching the finish line, he thought not of glory, but, finally, another performance is over. To escape this feeling, he trained excessively, trying to numb the noise in his mind with extreme physical exhaustion. Late at night, he would drive aimlessly along the coastline, listening to the waves, wondering if he would be happier if he simply sank into the deep sea. He possessed an unusually delicate and sensitive nature, which let him precisely sense water resistance, and also made him allergic to the judgment of others. The media speculated about his private life, questioned his character. Their malice, like sharp icicles, pierced the heart of a boy who was still only a young man. Under such intense social pressure, he perfected a mask called Thorpe the Flying Fish. Behind that mask was a soul sinking deeper, searching for a way out. In 2006, at the peak of his career, Ian Thorpe suddenly announced his retirement, a thunderbolt that split the calm of the global swimming world. People could not understand why someone still capable of winning gold would choose to walk away at his brightest. But for Thorpe, it was not retirement. It was an emergency escape for survival. He later said that if he had kept swimming, he might never have been able to breathe in the real world again. Life after stepping away was not as peaceful as imagined. He sank into a deeper depression, at one point relying on medication and long-term counseling. He hid in his house, drawing all curtains shut, refusing to look at anything bright blue. The weightlessness of falling from the pedestal left him lost. He no longer knew who Ian Thorpe was without swimming. During this time, he struggled with several comeback attempts, a battle between instinct and reality, trying to retrieve his purest self in the water. But he finally understood that the underwater paradise of his youth had been shattered by the cruelty of professional competition. In confusion, He began to write poetry, design jewelry, travel, like a toddler learning to walk, regaining his balance on land. True redemption often comes from the most complete honesty. After years of silence and struggle, Ian Thorpe chose to publicly reveal his sexuality and his long battle with depression in a television interview. In that moment, his tears were no longer stung by chlorine, but a genuine outpouring of emotion bottled up for more than a decade. He no longer needed the heavy black full-body swimsuit to disguise himself, nor the label of flying fish to define him. He discovered that when he laid his most vulnerable, authentic self in the sunlight, the world did not abandon him. Instead, countless people with similar experiences found comfort in him. This transformation from a god back to a person was the most perfect turn of his life. He devoted himself to mental health charity work, supporting young people struggling under pressure, just as he once had. He still loved water, but now he swam casually in the early morning ocean near his home, wearing simple swim trunks. And no timers, no starting guns, only the sea breeze and the purest blue that belonged to him. At the end of the story, let us return to that bright blue. Today, Ian Thorpe still has those enormous feet, a soul still favored by water, but his swimming has changed, slower, more relaxed, more rhythmic, like a minuet flowing gently through the deep sea. He shows us that even if we once drowned, even if we wandered in the darkest abyss, the sun is always there if we are willing to surface. Redemption is never about winning more medals, but learning to live gracefully with our scars. Now he may be sitting by the sea, feeling the cool wind, carrying the peace he found in the deep water. Tonight, let us close our eyes gently with this story of truth and courage. And no more tangled thoughts over unfulfilled goals. No more worries about the unknown tomorrow. In this quiet night, may you also find your own peaceful blue deep within your soul. Good night.